Oh. Oh. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Oat Podcast. I'm your host, Abby, and today I have my friend here, Jose, with me.
Hello. Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. So I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast or not, but we've tried this like so many times.
We have, I think, the first time you were having like technical issues with it.
Yeah,
and
it was
it's
my
just,
freaking cord. It's like literally a $10 cord. And I thought I was like about to get like a whole new laptop. I didn't know what was going on. I felt so bad because like you don't live on this side of town, but like you like centered your whole day around it. I was like, fuck.
Well, that time I think it was we were gonna watch like a fight at
Something.
my coworker's house, and he just lives down the road. So I was
Right.
like, well, I'm already gonna be out there, so let's do it before.
Right. So yeah, so I had like the whole like episode planned out because I try to have notes and stuff like on my phone here. And so I was like, oh yeah, like I have it all planned out. I reviewed them like yesterday. I'm like, I changed like half of the questions.
That's fine.
Because I feel like when we were going to do it, I was like still in my single girl era. And I was like about to like have you like mansplain things to me about like men. I'm like, oh, this isn't relevant. This isn't relevant anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that shows you how long ago it was.
I know.
Like it's when was it, like early summer?
It had to have been because I met my guy in May. So it had to have been before that.
It must have been like April. It was, I know, like time was getting nice out, but I do remember when I left my buddy's house, it had like I was wearing like a light jacket.
Okay, so maybe spring.
I think it was spring because if you met Omar May,
yeah,
it was before that. Then.
Okay, yeah, and so I was just like, not that like the whole thing was going to be about being single, but like I don't know, it was just more questions like, why do guys do this? Why do guys do that? And now I just don't care.
Yeah, you're just like, I don't care anymore. I'm with someone.
Yeah, right.
For next time, but I hope it's not.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's Endgame. So.
Okay, that's good then.
Yeah,
then we won't worry about that.
Right. Yeah, it just was like cracking me up, but like there was some of it that like I just like kind of changed. So essentially, I met you in college.
Yep.
And I think it's just like interesting to see like what you remember versus what I remember of like how we know each other and stuff. So I'll have you describe where you think we know each other.
So I met you, I know it was freshman year.
Yep.
We had that English class.
Okay, that's exactly how I remember it.
And then that's how I met you, but I don't think we ever had class after that because I was like gen ed stuff.
Yeah, we would just like run into each other at parties and maybe the library
randomly see you on campus. Yeah, but never was like, I think a lot of people I never interacted with unless we were at parties.
I know,
because it's like when I was like on
or if
campus,
we had the same break. Some people I'd like schedule breaks with.
Yeah, so like I would have like, because my thing is I wouldn't just go to campus hang out sometimes because like
you would not, or you would.
It depended the day. So I would go to class because I was an art major, like graphic design. So I had 3-hour long classes.
Yep.
So I didn't want to spend more time on campus. And I also had to work. So like if I wasn't on campus, I'd go work.
Yeah.
I worked on campus and off campus. So I worked at the mall. And I worked on campus. So it was a lot of running around for me.
Yeah.
I hung out more at like the clubhouse and at Walb when I didn't have anything.
Okay. See, I would do like days like on campus and then days where I didn't have like any classes just so I could work too. Just because I worked like over here, like Southwest. But like I would always schedule time in the library because I was always concerned about my next meal. Like, okay, I'm going to do morning classes and then evening classes. So that way I have time to eat.
Yeah.
It's like my whole schedule was built around lunch.
Hey, I don't know how much time I went to Subway on campus. That's one thing. I used to go to Subway. There was a Taco Bell, the Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
But it was mainly Subway.
Yeah.
And then once Jimmy John's was like on housing, it was just Jimmy John's.
I like can't remember what I would eat every day, but maybe I packed my lunch. Maybe I was a nerd.
Well, I also like lived on campus, so I could walk
to
housing. and like I could just make food.
Yeah.
But if I was like class in the morning, lunch, and then class again, I would just eat Subway.
Okay. I
It
feel like
was
I actually
easiest.
ate Subway too a lot. I would go to the coffee shop a lot.
I think a lot of people ate Subway.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that was a normal. It's like you either ate Subway, Taco Bell wasn't really touched.
I wonder how it is now. Now that it's PFW.
I went once, took my kid, and I think it was
A
my
little
kid.
tour.
Yeah, a little tour kind of thing. Wait, I don't know if it was my kid or something. I went to campus for something. I don't remember if it was him, but basically, like everything changed in the basement of like wall. Like
Oh, okay.
nothing's the same.
Huh.
Like the bookstore's way different. Kettler, right, was the main building where Subway was at. Like, I don't think Subway was
I
there
have the worst
anymore.
memory.
I don't remember the building names, but like,
Yeah.
I just know a lot of stuff has changed. Like, some places aren't there anymore from when we were there,
I
and
know. It feels like it was yesterday though.
yeah,
And now it's like a whole new school. It's not even IPFW, it's PFW.
I still call it
Like
IPFW.
I like bought merch when they were closed or not closing, but like when they were like switching it just so I had more IPFW gear.
Yeah, like I have some stuff. I went to like a festival or whatever, and we bought like a metal sign that has the old IPFW logo with the
Okay.
mastodons and everything. I was like,
Yeah.
I'll put this in the garage or
Right.
something.
I know. I was like,
I'll find a spot.
this is like old people behavior.
I
Like,
mean, it was
we need
$15.
this.
It was $15. It was technically it'd be 50, but it was $15.
Okay.
We're buying it.
Like
But
this is
yeah,
on sale.
I mean, we are. I'm be 31 in like 2 months, not even.
Okay, I'm already 31, so I'm way ahead of you.
Yeah,
So
man, my joints feel like they're 70 though. Like it sucks so
yeah,
bad.
before we started recording, we were talking about this, but yeah, so kind of going back to like how we know each other and stuff. So um we met each other freshman year,
Mm-hmm.
and so like my perception of you is like we've always been friends, and I kind of grapple with like the sorry, I feel like it's gonna be a long tangent. I'm gonna just so stay with me. So I have a lot of guy friends. And now that I am in a relationship, I'm kind of struggling with this whole concept of guy friends because I feel like a lot of them are no longer my friends now because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is a quality that you have always possessed of just being a friend and not making women feel awkward or uncomfortable, being creepy in any way. Cause I think that there is a fine line sometimes that guys
Mm-hmm.
cross
Oh yeah,
of like saying something inappropriate when, the girl is single or whatever it is. Even if you're friends and it's like, if you've established that you're a platonic friendship, I feel like it can get awkward. And I just like want to like say like up top, like you are literally so good at it. So I feel like,
I'm glad.
do you have any advice to the men of the world
I mean,
on
like,
how to do this successfully?
because I notice it with my friends. I'm a big observer. Like, I
Yeah.
observe people. I can read people, but it sucks. Like, I remember when I was looking for relationships, it was always a more difficult thing for me to notice if a girl liked me. I was like, so I always like let it just go.
Yeah.
And then I saw where things went from there. Like, you hang out, you go do
Right.
stuff, just you two. And I kind of figured it out then. It took a while, but I'd figure it out.
Okay.
Whereas I can notice when someone likes my friends and stuff, but then I notice how they're like creepy. And I think the reason they're creepy, like,
Describe what you think of as creepy.
man, just dudes. Like, I look
I
at
know
it.
what I think.
Okay, so when I see a guy being super creepy towards a girl, I always think of like the freaking big bad wolf and the three pigs. Like, they're just looking.
Stalking.
Yeah, stalking. Kind of like the mask.
Always there.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I'm like, I stare off into the distance. So if any girls ever see me just like looking in her direction, I was not looking. I just like look away.
Yeah.
But I try to stop my friends. And if you try hard, you might come out as creepy. Because I know some guys try to like impress right away.
Yeah.
But it's more of like,
So you think people should be more passive, or guys specifically?
be yourself, converse,
Yeah.
see where it leads. Don't force it. Like,
So I'm in the camp of I just think sometimes guys which like this might be like offensive, I guess. I don't know, but I
It's
think like guys
whatever.
just can't read women sometimes,
That
or don't
too.
maybe they don't want to, or they've never even thought of it because body language is everything.
It is, and like I said, I had trouble for myself, like with,
Yeah,
but I never was. I was too like, I don't know. So I'm more like, I'm not gonna do anything. I have friends that go, I don't know, and then they try something, make it weird,
yeah,
come off creepy, like you said.
right.
And I think just dudes, it's just like they can't notice signs of things. Like I would notice it with other people, but for me, I was oblivious. So I don't know if
Okay,
it's the same, but I know dudes that don't
okay,
notice it for everyone, even at all.
yeah.
Like they
Maybe
can't.
like the anxiety or like the nervousness of
Yeah,
liking someone kind of like gets clouds their judgment a bit.
yeah. Because I mean, my thing is, I was always like, don't try anything stupid. Like, why are you trying to force things?
Yeah.
Like, I hate when people try to force things on me. So it's like, why would I do it to someone else?
So so were you and your wife like friends for a while before? Is that like how did that come about then?
So,
Or did she like tell you that she likes you?
well, so basically, we had classes together throughout college because
Uh-huh.
she's also the same degree, everything. She never talked to me, but we had a lot of mutual friends that
Okay.
people would talk to me because I usually went to class. You sit, you listen, you do your thing,
Right.
and you move on, whatever.
Yeah, I feel like IPFW was a little bit different where I don't know, people kind of did their own thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it was more so. I think my whole I have to go work, I
Yeah.
have to go do
Right.
this, like because like at one point I was like an RA, had two jobs, and it's just like
Oh
back and forth,
damn.
back and forth,
Yeah.
back and forth. So I knew who she was, she knew who I was, and then we went. She really didn't know who I was until one of our mutual friends. I was an RA with her, and she knew her from classes, and she mentioned something about like an '80s night at the Rail.
Mm.
So I was like, I was gonna go to like Chicago for something, I forget what. But basically didn't end up going. So then we just started drinking at my apartment, me and my roommates and anyone else.
Yeah.
And then I remembered, oh, that some people from class were gonna go to the '80s night. Like we should go because my roommate was also in like the art department.
Okay.
So we like left St. Joe, went to the thing, and she just met me there. She talked to me, I talked to her, whatever. And we just like that was the first time we interacted. But she knew who I was, I knew who she was, but she never talked to me. She's
Okay.
very introverted.
Yeah.
I'm very extroverted. So I think I was me talking to her. And then
Yeah.
we just talked and like I said, just converse. Like I just talked to her normally. I'd see her now, I would
Right.
talk to her, whatever. And I like cats, so I got a kitten like about the same time, in November ish, I think.
Yeah.
And so I had a game night and I just invited her. I'm like, oh, she was cool, whatever. I'll
Yeah.
invite her and like other people. And that stupid kitten literally was what had like made us come together
Okay.
because she liked cats and like she spilled a beer and he started drinking it and she's like, what the
Oh.
fuck? And I'm just like, dude, like it's whatever. He's alive. So then she picked up like the kitten. She was always with him, whatever. So I invited her over and I was like, I was always hanging out with people. Like people would come over to my
Yeah.
apartment.
You were super social.
Yeah,
Just very similar like my vibes too.
yeah. And so like basically I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna see like if anyone wants to get tacos, whatever. And I messaged her. I was like, I don't even have her number, whatever. I'll just message her on Messenger or whatever.
Yeah.
I said, hey, I'm gonna get tacos and like a growler from Granite City, and I'm just trying to hang out. More people will come back later, whatever. And then this little stupid cat was all like on her and everything. I think that's what made her come back. We still have the cat. He's almost
Have you
9.
asked her?
I not really like, hey, why'd you like start talking to me kind of deal?
Well, like maybe that was like, oh yeah, I'd love to come see your cat, but maybe she was actually interested in you.
Yeah, because
It's just like easy to kind of like put it on something else.
I'm more so
You'll have
just
to
like
ask her,
yeah.
or if she obviously I'm assuming she'll listen to this.
Oh, she will. More so like I think I just invited her out. I was like, hey, let's go get. But like at that point, I wasn't really trying to like, oh, I'm gonna go. I was just trying to find someone to hang out with
Okay.
at the time, and then my roommate got out of class, and then more people on positive came over. I can't remember, bad
Yeah.
memory kind of
Yeah.
deal.
Same.
But basically, that's what we did, and then she just started like hanging out with me more, and then
Okay.
just it happened naturally. Because like I said, I don't try to force it. It's more like if it's gonna happen, it's gonna
Yeah.
happen. And when it comes to like friends that like when you say guy friends that are like not your friends and girls,
Yeah.
I I don't know. I'm more of like people can do whatever. Like it's if you make it weird, like then why were you even friends with them at first?
That's what I'm like struggling with right now because like one person specifically I had been friends with for over 10 years, and not that like we had like a friendship breakup or anything, but
Mm,
it was like very clear, like we were in a social setting. He hadn't realized I was dating someone because he doesn't live here.
uh-huh.
And I like messaged him before, like beforehand, basically saying that like Omar was going to drive us. And I think he didn't quite realize what it was. Like maybe it was just someone I was maybe interested in or something. Cause he's like seen that happen a lot for our years of friendship.
Yeah,
And then I think once he realized like how serious it was, he just left. Didn't even say goodbye.
Irish goodbye.
Yeah.
Peace out.
20 minutes into like the event. And like I just like don't hear from him. Which like we wouldn't like talk all the time, but I just thought it was like so beyond rude. And so then it's like in my mind, I really commend people that can have platonic friendships just for the fact that they like women. Like it's okay to like not in like a romantic setting. Like I think men should be able to kind of put that apart and like
Mm.
women just because we're women. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like this entire time were you only my friend for potentially something to happen? Like it like hurt my feelings.
yeah. Because with that, I just been social. I like having friends, and like you said, like
Yeah.
I, it's like this. If you're a girl, whatever, you're a girl. I'm a guy. We're friends because of some reason.
Yeah.
And if you let that change, like I find that too with a lot of friends, like that don't talk to me. Like they got a husband or a boyfriend, and then
Mm.
they're like, it's just weird. Like I don't make it weird. I'm all about like, oh, let me meet them. Like, hey,
Right.
what's up?
Yes.
Like so and so. Because it's like I know some dudes are just like jealousy kind of thing. I mean, everyone's always been jealous at some point.
Which that's natural.
It's yeah, it's a human thing, and it's like I myself, it's like okay, back in the day, like throughout different relationships, I always came out learning something different.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I like try to tell people. It's like, why don't you just take what you learned instead of like you keep doing it?
Yep.
I dated a girl that she was super jealous about like me knowing other girls, and
Mm-hmm.
she freak out. And then I was like, well, this is weird. So I kind of did what like some dudes did, like just stop trying to talk to them. And I said, screw this. So I left that. I'm like, this is dumb. So then,
It's insane because like people, you go out into this world every single day and you're going to run into women.
yeah,
Even if you're not friends with them, you're going to see them. And it's like if you are with someone that truly can't contain themselves around another person, then there's bigger issues.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like I left that relationship because of that. It's like, you can't like, I have a friend, like when we got married, we actually had a mutual friend. I started dating Brenna, and then our friend Abby, another Abby, she had a class with her, and Brenna goes, "Yeah, your friend Abby like goes to me in class. They had a class here. Goes, hey you, are you dating Jose?" And Brenna's like, "What the fuck's about to go down?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then I'm like, "It's Abby. Like we never had anything. She's just been a really good friend of mine. Like
Yeah.
that's it." And then she goes, "Oh, I'm his friend Abby," and blah blah blah. So they became friends. They had a class
Okay.
together and everything.
Okay. I didn't know if she was trying to be like, I knew him first.
No, no, she was just trying to introduce herself.
Oh,
That's just
yeah.
Abby. She's just like she's a flight attendant now, so she's all like,
Okay.
yeah,
Social.
yeah, super
Social.
social. So she met her, and basically like I thought like, oh, I hope Brenna's not fucking weird about this. Like I don't want a repeat of anything in the past. And
Yeah.
she's like, whatever, it's cool.
Yeah.
And then I know like when she came to our wedding, we hadn't seen her for years because she was like flying and stuff. She lived in New York for a bit,
Okay.
Detroit, because
Okay.
wherever she was located. And at the wedding, like she came over, like she gave me a hug, then Brenna a hug.
Yeah.
But like when my family like saw her, it's like, what's going on? I'm like, it's our friend. Like,
Yes.
chill out, bro. Like,
Yes.
there's nothing there. Because it's like, I don't think people realize like you can be friends with a girl and not have anything going on. Like, if you are a guy and you're trying to have things with these girls, maybe you should evaluate like where you're at in life, because we're at an age that I make fun of some of my friends that like are too stubborn of what they want in a woman, and
Mm.
and like a woman, yeah, woman, not men.
Like their person, yeah.
Yeah, like, and I tell them like, why are your standards so high? Why are you doing this? You got to compromise, man. Like,
Yeah.
you're not perfect. Like, one of them is like, dude, you got a fucking vaping addiction. Like, if I was a chick, I'd be like, get the fuck out. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I don't care if you vape, but I'm like, bro, like, you carry 3 vapes at once and you
I
suck on them like at multiple times at the same time. And it's like, if I was a chick, I'd be like, hell no.
Yeah. So I do feel like there is someone for
There
everyone.
is.
And so I can kind of put myself in their perspective. Obviously, I'm not out here vaping at
Mm,
all.
no.
But a lot of my friends would be like, your standards are so high, like you have to be able to compromise. Not everyone's perfect. And I do 100% believe that. But I also now, after meeting Omar, feel like he is someone for me. Like even
Mm,
though I like we're not perfect, like I'm not perfect.
yeah, no
We
one
have
is.
imperfections, but like I feel like he's perfect. Like all of
You
it. You know, the
balance
whole
each other, right?
package, you know? So it's like I see him as perfect, but I'm sure other people may not have in the past. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and he's probably listening to this and be like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just, like, everyone has their quirks, but I think it's perfect. So, in that sense, I feel like people shouldn't compromise until they find that, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
it does, but like the one thing I should bring up is like this when a guy like has a like I need a chick that looks like your typical influencer blonde
oh,
chick needs to have these sizes.
yeah.
I'm like, brother, like
We live in
no.
fucking
Like,
Fort Wayne.
yo, you got fucking losing hair.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Like you're thinning out. I'm thinning out. Like it's a thing of age.
Yeah.
When I go bald, I'm just gonna shave it. I don't care. Like I have cool hats that I can wear.
But this is what I mean though. Some girls love bald guys.
Yeah.
Like my guy, he has like a salt and pepper beard, but he like dyes it. Uh I know he won't care that I'm saying this, but he does.
It's
And
whatever.
like first of all, I don't care that he dyes it. I like it when it's dyed, but also I like it when it's salt and peppery. You know, the
Mm,
grays.
yeah.
So
Because Brenda's the same way. Like I'm starting to get him, but
yeah,
I'm one that I don't care about how I change my body wise because of the reason of we're getting old.
right.
Why do you try? Like, it's fine if you want to try and look younger. I don't care. You do what you want to do. For me
Yeah. Women,
personally,
there's more pressure.
yeah,
I know guys feel it too,
I,
but
I told Brandon, I was like, bro, if you got like big, I wouldn't give a shit.
I would
Like,
hope not.
I'm like,
I mean, I would
I'm fat.
say, like, from the perspective of, like, I just want, like, I would encourage my partner to be healthy,
Yeah.
but, like, with the caveat of, like, sickness happens,
Mhm.
you know, like,
Like,
things that are totally out of your control. And so it's like, if you only love someone for how they look, you know,
just
like
leave.
women's like, so your friends that are like wanting influencers, it's like, okay, like, do you want a family? Like, pregnancy happens, like your body, like
Yeah.
like your body changes, you know. And now that I'm like 30, all my friends are having babies. Like, I've really seen, like, we've always heard it, but like I've seen it, and like I think it's a beautiful change, but it's not going to look exactly like it used to. We're going
No.
to get old, we're going to get wrinkles. And it's
Well,
like, who do you want to be sitting by when you're 84 years old and you're wrinkly? Like, I want someone that's has like a great soul and a great
yeah.
personality.
Because that's the thing is like, I told Brandon, I was like, Brandon will be, like they have that meme where like girls just like randomly ask their guy, like, if I was a lamp, would you still
Yeah.
love me?
I was a
Like,
worm, would you
yeah,
love me?
yeah. Stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, dude, I wouldn't care. I'm like, I
Yeah.
would wipe your ass when you can't wipe your ass. I don't care, bro. Like, because you got to find someone. Like, I've dated girls, like I said, like, I've dated girls that were like very like preppy ish side,
Yeah.
girls that were like more like into sports stuff, like different varieties, like
Right.
I even like different ethnicities and stuff. And I've learned a little bit out of everyone because one thing I lived with a girl too before Brenna, and it's like you learn so much about a person when you live with them that a lot of my friends never realize. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but if you
Yeah.
can, I
All of our
would do it.
quirks.
If I would see a buddy that was the girl, that I'm like, girl, you're kind of sketch. Like, this is kind of sus. So I'd be like, hey, man, have you ever thought about like you learn things? Because it's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's the biggest lesson. I'm like, so I have a son. If he were to end up living with a girl and like Brennan was like, no, don't move in, I'd kind of be like, maybe you should.
Like before they get married.
Yeah, see
Yeah.
how it is. Like, I
Yeah.
wasn't engaged or anything to this girl. I was just dating her. And I was like in between transitioning from apartments. So I had like a
Mm-hmm.
giant gap because this is when I stopped being an RA. I like trying
Mm-hmm.
to find this place. And my goal wasn't like always stay there. But then I was like, oh, maybe I'll just live with her for till I'm done, whatever.
Yeah.
But then it's like, you know what? No, this ain't for me. And just got out, got a department, whatever. And
Yeah.
that was it. Cause it was like, and then you realize you're like, okay, is this the end of this or not? And you just learn people so well how they are if you live with them.
Well, you're like you're just surrounded by them a lot. Like
Yeah.
even if like you're spending a lot of your weeks with someone, it's like you're waking up, you have like your morning
Yep.
routine, splitting bills, like how are they financially?
Yeah.
I've never lived with anyone like romantically.
Yeah.
So like I already know it would be like a bigger adjustment.
It is. It's a huge adjustment because like the girl I was dating, like she was out of college, she was working a time, like a full time job, making money and stuff, and there was like stuff where I was like, I can't afford these kinds of bills, but she'd be like, oh, it's fine, just like buy this or do that, and
Mm.
I cooked, so like she didn't cook or anything, and
Yeah.
so I felt obligated. I'm like, well, she's helping me out with this for the time being. I might as well like do her laundry, cook, clean, whatever,
I'm glad you're saying this.
like balance it out,
Yeah.
and it
Division
came
of
to
labor.
yeah, and then it came to be like, well, I need you to like do this. I'm like, I'm a broke
Mm.
college kid, bro, but I'll pay it, whatever.
Yeah.
But then it's at that point, I'm like, I might as well just go live back, and you start learning like their sides of how they are, kind of
Right.
deal, and it's just like it's weird, but like Brenna, like she, I'm pretty sure she thinks I'll ruin the laundry because I'm those guys that just throws everything in.
I do that too though.
But like I go, I'm like, it's fine, and she's like, no, and I'm like, okay, and then like whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like stuff like that. But it's like, you learn so much about someone else. And like that's what like has made me grown and like what do I want in a person? Someone that's like this, someone's like that.
Yep.
And that's when I started ticking off things. I'm like, I don't need this because they had this and it made this bad and then
Right.
this was that. And I don't care if you like look after your image, but when you're like centralizing your whole like personality on that, it's kind of like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
You
that's a
got
red
hobbies or
flag.
no? Like,
Right. Right.
so it's things like that just like I don't know, kind of throw me off. But it's like you have to learn from everything. Like you said, this whole standard stuff. Like, yeah, you want what you want, but you learn
Mhm.
as you go. And like you said, you found Omar. You're like, no one's perfect. You have flaws
Right.
here and there. All you can do is just try to balance, help each other out.
Yeah, I like really have found that like someone's character is like really
Yeah,
important. Because like things are gonna happen, but as long as you know their true character, you know that it wasn't like whatever happened, whatever was said, or in the heat of a moment, like it's not malicious. Like they're a good
yeah,
person. You know, trust comes down to good
yeah,
character. They're a good character person. I trust them. So, on like it just like is a bonus that I'm like really attracted to him too.
yeah. So, that one thing with trust is, like from two relationships ago, you said it goes a long way with someone. If I was coming to this and I was in those relationships,
That's something I was writing down in my
bro,
notes.
no. Like, what are you trying to do? Who is she? Have I met
Yeah.
her? Have I done this?
Well, you're
And it's
doing
like,
it in my
dude,
home. You had to put your phone on do not disturb, which like, I didn't ask you to do that,
yeah,
but
I respect, we're
right.
doing something. I
Yeah.
don't need my fantasy league people
You're
to be
sitting down
bothering
with
me.
me for 2 hours. I mean, when you first tried coming, I was single. So like I mean, I think it's great that like trust like is a good foundation. But I think it's great that like Brenda didn't care because I have had people like reach out and say, or like I've reached out to and they were like, sorry, like my girlfriend or wife,
So
whatever it
no.
is, wouldn't love this.
Well, Brenna, she's like, I don't care. I'm like, are you cool with this?
Yeah.
Because like experiences,
Yeah.
and she's like, I don't care.
Right.
It's it's like that. That to me is like a big thing. I'm like, oh, I got a good one. Like this is
Yeah.
good. Like I
Yeah.
mean, there was other things when like my other friend Abby, I was like, hey, I gotta help her with Spanish, whatever. She's just gonna come over. And if Brennan was like working, she's like, I don't care. She knew her too.
Right.
But then it's like I have friends that like I hung out with. I would hang out with them when Brennan was working that she never met until like years later.
Right.
And it's kind of like you. She's never met you. I don't think,
Mhm.
right?
No,
We've
no,
yeah, we've never seen each other in
that's
public.
what one thing I
Yeah,
want to talk about is like we like follow each other on like Instagram now.
yeah.
Like, and I love her like content. Like we sometimes like DM and stuff, and I'm like, I feel like I would like love her. I was like, we all need to hang out.
I told her I was like, dude, just follow her. Like she's cool. It's
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
Don't
I'm like
care.
so glad she did.
And like it's stuff like that. It's like I don't know. To me, it's like that. Like you're never gonna not avoid having friends of the opposite sex,
Exactly.
and
Well,
we're adults.
I like also have heard too, like from like a podcast or whatever, like which was like a different concept that I had never thought about, but and I know all guys are different, but I do feel like guys in general, they could know each other for years and not even like know each other's wives' names. Like, what do you talk about? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you do this because I feel like you are a talker.
Oh, I talk too
And
much.
like, even like Omar, like, I don't personally feel like he's this way, but I have known people that just like don't feel comfortable talking to other men like men talking to other men about like emotions and things they're going through. So I do think it's really important for guys to have like female friendships because like even just thinking like I know I was complaining about like some of my guy friends like not being my friends anymore, but I still do have guy friends
Yeah,
and they do come to me and talk to me about things and I'm like I'm glad I can be that outlet because it's so much more normalized for women to do that. And so like we can be kind of a safe space for like emotions, and I think it's really admirable. I feel like admirable is the wrong word. It's like such like something so basic, but I think it's good that guys have girlfriends that are just like
yeah.
friends.
Because like you were to piggyback off on like guys can come to you. So like when I was oblivious, like if a girl was like, I'd hit up my friends that were girls and be like, "Yo, so this is what's going on.
Yes.
What's going on?" Like, and then they'd be like,
Yes.
"Oh, maybe this, maybe that, maybe that." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Cool." That helped a lot. And like, because I was never not confident. I didn't care. I would go talk to anyone.
But it can be confusing,
But it
especially like
is.
you were dating like so you met Brenna when you were in your younger 20s.
Yeah, about mid,
So that's a more confusing time. I feel like it's a little bit easier to know as
almost
a
mid. I
30
think.
year
Yeah,
old, but it does change a little bit.
yeah. Because it's like when I feel like when you were younger, you like feel like people dated like so quick, like like because it's like, oh yeah,
Like one
like
person to the next, you mean?
yeah, kind of deal like
Or
that.
like
Because I had
2 months, 2 months, 2 months
yeah, I've
later?
seen people who are like, oh, they're dating someone for like 3 months and they're done, and then like
Oh
they go a
yeah.
month, no one, then they're like,
Well, that's because like you're trying to figure out what you want
yeah.
to a little bit.
And
Kind of
I was
goes with
more of
it.
like, I just want to chill, dog, like whatever. But I mean, everyone basically I feel like kind of did it to an extent, to a point. But yeah, like you said though, but it's nice to have like friends that are girls. Like I don't understand this. What do I do with this? Da,
Yeah.
da, da, da. Because it's like back to the age of we're 30. I have friends that don't know what they're looking into. They know they're getting older. They're like scared. I was like, what are they gonna end up with? And I jokingly go, time to be a stepdaddy. Like I'm sorry, bro, but like you wasted time.
Yeah.
Like you about to have someone else's kid.
But
Like
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't either. Like
Unless you don't want kids, I
yeah,
guess. That would be the only issue.
because it's like I don't care. Like I have a friend, like he's dating someone that she has two daughters. It's he actually like reached out to some people. How do you do this? How do you do that? Because he was still like kind of like in it kind of happened abruptly where he's like, oh shoot, like I have to start learning how to be a parent without me knowing how to be a parent.
Mm-hmm.
He's learning, he's doing well,
Yeah.
but it's just like I don't think every guy could do that. And I think that's like the breaking point for some. And it's like,
Yeah.
no. And then there's like weird dudes that are like, I want my own kid only. I'm like, then why are you with her, bro? Stop wasting her time. Let her
Yeah.
find someone else. Like, you do you. Like,
Yeah.
that's listen, because like you, I'm like, if you have someone that has a kid, like you try to be there, ease into it. Don't just try to be full on dad right away.
Right. Yeah, I always had like a rule like when I was single of like I didn't mind if they had kids, but two kids max. They had to want more kids and then also only one baby mama. So if they had two baby mamas with two kids, that was
Get the
out like
fuck out.
too much for me. But
Unnecessary drama.
yeah, I mean, it just is like, okay, now you want a third baby mama with me? Like that's too much. Not saying that that would like hopefully would end there, but
I
still.
mean, if you're into Nick Cannon,
Yes, exactly. That's just like
homeboy can pay for it all. Like,
yes. So I don't know. I just like think like knowing like what you want. I only know it from my perspective of like I haven't hadn't dated anyone really seriously that was a dad, but I do know it was like a good preview of what they would be like,
yeah,
as a dad. So that was like a quick way to know if I liked them or not.
yeah, because man, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of dudes out there like just pieces of shit at that. So like,
Yeah. Trust me.
I
I'm
became,
fully aware with
I
all
be,
the daddy issues over here.
dude, I became a dad, and my whole perspective changed on like what person I wanted to be. Like, I used to not care if someone said, "Yo, we're gonna like ride a snowmobile across a frozen lake that's barely frozen," I'd be like, "Let's go." But now
Let's
I'm
do
like,
it. Yeah.
it makes you think. And
Yeah.
another thing that like grew on me is like I hate dudes that neglect their kids.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, like I have friends. I'm like, oh, like yeah, like they're with the mom or they're doing this, and I'm like, why don't you like let her do something, bro? Like, Brent will be like, if she wants to go out with a friend, she's like, "Do you care if you?" I'm like, "I don't care."
Right.
I'm like, "I'm trying to teach this kid how to play Call of Duty right now." Sure. Well, that means him and
You're
I will
like,
just start.
we don't need you here.
Yeah, get out and like stuff like that. Like I've taken him
The bros
golfing.
are broing, okay?
Yeah. Well, so I had a boys' night and she had like girls' night with like our friends, like their girlfriends, fiancés, wives, whatever.
Yeah.
And we were at home. We were shotgunning. I cut my lip open. He's just chilling, eating pizza, Bosco sticks. He didn't care. He loved it. He learned how to cheers. And
Oh.
then Brandon comes like, he learned how to cheer. I'm like, yeah, boys' night. Leave him alone. Like,
Yeah,
it's boys'
duh.
night. And stuff like that. Like, I don't care if she does, like, but she's very introvert, like I said, so she doesn't try to go out.
Yeah.
Because one thing I know, it's like, we have friends that'll make plans and then, like, last minute try to include her. And I
Does
think
she have
she,
to like mentally prepare for it for like 3 days?
that, or she's more of like, thanks for telling me so last minute, where I don't know if she picked it up off of me because I was big on like, if you're a last minute thought, don't go
Yeah.
because you were never thought about. I'm big on like, if you're not including me right away, I'm not gonna go. And if you say why,
Yeah.
I'd be like, I just don't feel like it. Because it's like, if you're
Sorry,
not,
I'm busy tonight.
yeah, kind of stuff like that. Because it's like, I feel like you also have to respect yourself in the sense of like, if I'm a last cause because no one wants to hang out with me,
Yeah, I do
like,
agree with that.
it's weird. It makes me mad because it's like, cool, thanks, thought you were a friend, kind of deal. Whereas like,
Yeah.
I'm more of like, oh, we're gonna have a cookout. Let's invite so and so, and then I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot about so and so, and then like I'll tell them, but like I try to, and it's just like Brenna knows who to invite. I'm more of like, hey, did you tell your parents about what's going on for Thanksgiving? Yeah, and I'm like, 3 days later, shit, no, and stuff like that, and she
Yeah.
helps. She balances me out
Right.
with that,
Right.
and so she just like, I know that's one thing that frustrates her because they always like invite her last minute because it's also like we have a kid. Um, I make plans with my buddies, or if I'm gonna do something, I like to be like, oh, Friday I'm gonna go like play golf or something with them,
Right.
and then they invite her last minute because if it was like more like, hey, so and so invited me to this, I'd skip on the golf and tell them just come over here, we'll play like Mario Kart or something,
Right.
like do something at home, and if they don't want to do it, be like, then screw you, I'll just do something with my kid. Because I want her to also try and do things,
Yeah.
but she just gets frustrated because she feels like she gets anxious. She's like, I don't know what to do, and I just tell her, I was like, if you don't want to go, don't go. You could say no, like
Yeah.
whatever. We can do something.
Right. Well, I think too, like also with like the last minute invite, that maybe was like okay when we were younger,
Yeah,
but
that
we're
was
30. Like we know that we've had this in the calendar for 6 months. Like when's the next Friday you're available? 3 weeks from now,
yeah,
4 weeks from now. Like genuinely, I hung out with my friends like a couple weeks ago and we're like, okay, when's the next time we can all get together? 15th of December.
You're like,
You know,
deal.
and so it's like we all put it in our calendars. And so like with the last minute invites, like I would be a little bit salty. And if it wasn't someone that I was super close with, I think that would be a little bit different. But it's like, okay, you sent out the group chat to everyone but me. And you know, I'm friends with all of these people. That's where it gets hurtful. And so
That's what
it's like, I'm going to politely decline
that's what
your invite
happens.
to your 2 year old's like birthday, which I've never met.
Yeah. And that's the thing that happens. It annoys me because it's like I'm very helpful. Like I'm just been told you're just a nice guy that helps whenever. But like I'm also like if I know you're trying to just like take advantage of me kind of deal, I throw it back to you because I'm petty like that and I don't care. Like you're gonna respect my time, you're gonna respect my
Yeah.
family's time, and if you can't do that, then why should I respect your time kind of deal?
Right.
Because it's more like what you give out, I give out back to you.
Like matching someone's energy.
Yeah, and
I've been trying to do this more because I'm definitely, I don't want to say like I've had been like a people pleaser, but I definitely just would just accept what
yeah,
people give me, and I just don't love that anymore.
yeah. Like I have friends that like, oh, we need to go golf. Okay, I invite them, and then they're like, oh, I don't know, and then I just stop inviting them. Like, why don't you invite me anymore? You never go. You
Yeah.
always have something else, or you cancel on me last minute, kind of deal. I have no issues going on my own. Like I said, I'll take my kid with me.
Right.
He literally will drive the car. He'll hit golf balls. He has his own golf set, whatever. But it's like it just annoys me because all of Brenna's main friends like moved away from Fort Wayne,
Mm.
and when they're in
It's
town,
tough.
they sometimes like invite her, sometimes they don't, and I think it annoys her. So she like got absorbed by my friend group.
Yeah.
A lot of them like hang out with her. Yeah, it's cool. Some of them are cooler than others in the sense of like we're at that weird age where people are having kids and not. So it's just like
Yep.
it's you understand it. I'm
Oh
sure you
yeah.
do because I
Oh
think you
yeah.
told me a lot of your friends have kids already.
Yep. Or they're having kids, second kids, thinking about having
Yeah,
kids.
and so I have friends that like are still not to that point, and it's just like you guys don't understand, and it just frustrates me because it's like I can't do much about it. Like I could be a dick to them and be like, "What the fuck," but I don't also want to do that,
Yeah.
and it's like it just gets frustrating to me that like she has to deal with this stuff because I'm more of a like nonchalant. We're opposites. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, it is what it is. Bye. And she's more like, ah. And it's just like,
Yeah.
she doesn't know. Like,
I
she
mean,
knows
I take things personally too
she does
sometimes.
too. And it's just
Like I'm more emotional about it.
she's the same way. And it's just like, it's just annoying because I'll call out any of our friends on their BS and they don't like it. And I'm like, tough shit, bud. Like, tough shit. Like, this is life. Are you
Yeah.
going to be a good friend or are you going to be
Right.
a crappy friend kind of
Right.
deal? And it's just, that's one thing we're working on. Like, well, I don't know if we're working on it. It's more so like, I hope it gets better.
I I think it just depends. Like I have been like grappling like with this idea, trying to like teach one of my little cousins about it because she's like having like friendship issues. And so I've been thinking about it like you kind of, and not super intentional. Like I don't like sit here and think about this all day, but like there's just kind of like categories or levels to friendships.
Yeah.
There's people that like I really care about that I know really care about me. And then there's people that like I know my place in their life. And it used to like really bother me because it's like sometimes these people here like where I might care about them a little bit more than they care about me and it would bother the hell out of me. But now I'm just like, instead of focusing that negative energy here, I'm going to put that on the people that I know really love me.
Yeah.
And it kind of just changes your perspective a bit. You know what I mean? And it's like, not that I hate these people down here,
Yeah.
you know, I just don't rely on them or just know that they won't show up for me in ways that like I would need a better friend to show up. But not that they're a bad friend. It's just maybe they are at capacity in their life for the effort and energy that they can give people. You know what I mean? And so like I just like I try really hard not to take it personally anymore.
Yeah. Cause I know as we get older, it's hard to like make friends for people. I'm very extroverted, so I actually have not really realized having issues with it, I guess.
Yeah. It's like
Um,
if you have too many friends, it's like hard to know what
yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
And
Yes.
basically Brenna's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And it's just like I feel bad for her because it's like I try to push her in like to do some hobby stuff she wants to do. Like
But like sorry, not to interrupt you. I think it's so funny, like talking about guys talking about girls' hobbies, and then girls looking at guys' hobbies, because it's like when you think of like the actual definition of a hobby, like guys have them. They have multiple. They
Yeah.
probably have too many. Let's
Yeah.
be
You
real.
can ask Brenna. She's like, you
Okay.
do too much.
And then girls, they look like they have none. Okay. Absolutely none. Now that I have the podcast, I get to actually say I have something.
Uh-huh.
Thank God. But like like people think like watching TV isn't a hobby. Fuck yeah, it is. Reading. It just seems kind of like people might think it's boring. That's a fucking hobby.
Hey, don't bash reading. Like that's one thing I wish I would have done
Yes.
when I was younger,
I love
and
it.
I'm trying to force myself to read now.
Yeah.
I actually asked for books for Christmas. I'm like,
Nice. Yes.
I need to read. It helps so much.
I
Like,
have some I can give you. I don't know. We can talk about it later what
no,
you
we
like.
can.
But yeah, so I just like think it's so funny how like, and I do think just the perception of like when guys look at women of like you need more hobbies. It's like okay, like well some women like to cook or like go to the gym, like whatever it is, and I do think it is important to have an identity. Like I talk about this a lot, like where like with my friends that have kids or are married, like having an identity I think is in my life is so important because I do know like once you have kids, it's probably a little bit harder to have
oh yeah,
hobbies.
because it is harder, and the other thing too is when you have a kid, you have to like centralize your whole life around like times they do stuff, things you can do. So now we have sitters. We're like, oh, we're gonna go to the movies
Yeah.
without
Then
having to
you're
go
too
watch a
tired.
kids movie. Yeah, and then we're tired because they're like, oh, why do they put the good movies so
Yeah.
late? And it's like, oh my god. But it's like with the hobby stuff, I have some friends that honestly they're like significant other, like kind of like I don't know if it's like a thing with girls where they like hate guys having some hobbies or too much. I know we have too many, like, and that's the thing is it's like I have too many. Brenna tells me I have too many, but she's never like one to tell me you need to stop.
Yeah.
It's more so she like supports me and
Yeah.
lets me do like I bore her with golf stuff. She literally will watch golf videos and just be like, she
Yeah.
doesn't even know what's going on. I feel like I'm the freaking girl with that Elmo meme where Elmo's just staring into the camera.
Like,
And the
come
other
here,
girl's
Brenda. Let me
like,
show you this.
yeah, and I'm the girl in the back just talking, talking, talking. And she's just
And
like,
this is this, and this
yeah,
is this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so it's like, I have some friends that like, it just gets annoying, but I also don't try to impede myself in other people's relationships where I like try to
Yeah.
tell my buddy, like, yo, why did your girl let you do anything for yourself?
I
And vice versa. Like, I've seen dudes not let their girls do anything for themselves either.
Yeah, I think they're like, and I know it's not always the same, but I think it's a little bit complex here. So women, I think, just maybe have less hobbies because like some women aren't like sports girls, whereas like guys might do sports.
Yeah.
So, and that takes up time. Um, I think where it seems like guys have too many hobbies is if they like specifically, especially like if you have like a family, is like how much time are you giving to the hobbies versus like helping the
Yeah.
women? Because if we look at like traditional homes, women now have to work 40 hours because in this economy we can't do anything other
No.
than that. We're full-time taking care of our kids too. I mean, obviously daycare, but outside of that it's still like a full-time job.
Yeah. You don't stop.
Cleaning the house, cooking, like, so all of the responsibilities, I do think a lot of women feel the pressure to take that on. So it's like, yeah, if your guy isn't like picking up the slack in that relationship, like I would be pissed off too.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, I think a lot of women put pressure on themselves
Do it all.
I mean, first of all, because they probably feel like they have to.
Yeah.
So they feel like they can't have time for themselves. So I think it's a little bit of pressure, but I do think that's good where like you are encouraging, like, do you want to go hang out with your friends? Like, even though Brenna is an introvert, which is totally okay, you're still trying to support her in that. So I think that's good. So I think it's just like a healthy balance. Like, I've been hearing the term like is it the emotional support or the emotional capacity where that might not be the right term, but basically like where it's like a lot of women are thinking I have to call the doctor. We know the doctor's names. I know when they have to get their checkup. I know the laundry cycle. Whereas like a lot of men don't actually even think about that. They're like, well, if you would just tell me, I would do it. But they're holding the emotional
Like kind of burden almost.
yes, emotional burden. So it's taking up space. So I don't know. I think that was like a lot, but and I think a lot of it has to do with that.
Yeah, because even if, before we get ahead with this, it's like I know I do some of that stuff where I'm just like, do do do, and then she's like, "Yo, like, can you help me?" Which I tell her I was like, "Dude, if you need help, like, let me know, because I'll be oblivious and stuff." Because like, if I'm at home, like, let's say for a week doing nothing, I get bored. Like, I have to do something. So I
Yeah.
always like, I've been working since I was 14, so I've never not stopped
Same.
working.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm so because right now I'm going through that whole transitioning to a
Yep.
different job. I was literally bored out of my mind for like not even a week and a
It's like
half.
my version of hell.
Yeah, and it's like I have to keep doing stuff. Whereas she knows I can take the capacity of being out in public, doing stuff,
Yep.
everything, and she always like tries to put it on herself that I need to do the rest of the
Mm.
things. And then I can tell when she's frustrated. I said, "What's wrong?" And one thing I've tried to get her to tell me more if I ask her what's wrong, to actually tell me,
Yeah.
because I was like, "Don't make this like something where it makes you blow up and
Yeah.
makes you mad.
You
Like,
don't want
tell
to
me
have to
right away."
guess.
I don't want to guess because then it makes me think because like my head runs like a million miles an hour. I'm constantly thinking of something.
Yeah, same.
It doesn't matter if it's like I said, golf is a big thing of my life right now. It's like golf stuff or
Yeah.
car stuff and like everything else. Because my thing is like I'm more of like I want my family to have what they need. I'm big in that mentality of like the old school. Like a man has to
Yeah, taking care
provide.
of them.
So like if we were ever like in a money pinch kind of deal, since like right now I'm like in between jobs and I like my income was here and then it went down to here,
Yeah.
but now I'm gonna start my new one, which is back up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, are we gonna have enough money for this? So that's what I've been thinking of. Like, how can I make money to like make sure she doesn't have to worry about it?
Right.
And
But that's
it's
the emotional what I keep wanting to say baggage, but
like burden of
the
it all.
emotional burden
Yeah,
of like the finances.
yeah. Because the thing is, it's like we have a joint bank account.
Mm.
Like as soon as like we found out she was pregnant, I put her in my bank account because her job at the time wasn't paying her as much as my job did, and I said, I don't want you to not have money to go do stuff for a kid that we need to do. Like
Yeah.
that's stupid in my opinion. And that's one thing my dad's always said is like you need to take care of your family, and he's like
Mm-hmm.
even if it doesn't work out, you need to take care of your kid, or I'm gonna kick your ass. That's like
Yeah.
literally what my dad said, and it's like again that whole bunch of piece of shit dads out there like that annoys me. It's like, dude, you were out here, screwing
Yeah.
around, you had a kid, take care of it. That's your consequence. Like
Yeah.
it sucks, but at the same time, it's like why don't you step up and actually be in this kid's life at least?
Do you think that like that happens because they didn't have the like role model or the example?
I know
Because like
kids.
you're saying, like your dad kind of instilled that in you.
Yeah. Because me and my dad, like, we have a not the best relationship. I think we're getting a better relationship,
Mm.
but he always like instilled that on us, and that was one important thing. And it's like I think it's just like a Mexican thing. But
Mm.
then again, there's some Mexican dudes that are like giant dirt bags that I'm like, bro, you suck at being a family guy. But it's like I think it's an all around thing. But now that I'm older, I think we're like we talk more about other stuff and everything else. I think he's seen that I can actually do things on my own. But
Yeah.
like I have friends that like from high school that grew up with wealthy parents that had a job right out of high school and college, had it set for
Mm.
life, and they're out here like dating the wrong people, having baby mamas,
Yeah.
not taking care of their kid. Their dad and mom have to take care of their kid. And it's like I think a large part of it is having a role model there, but it's also like I don't know if it's like being too lenient on your kid growing up. Because my kid, I'm trying to like discipline him, but I also don't want to be disciplining him like my dad disciplined me because I didn't like it. And I'm like, there has to be a way to like
Yeah.
teach him to be a good person, responsible, and not leave like any kind of like emotional.
Damage.
Yes.
Will he need therapy?
And that's the thing because it's like, it's like these generational things that happen. And I'm just like, dude, I want my kid to go through these things. And that's one thing that Brent and I always talk about. I always bring stuff up. I'm like, we did this that one day. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have liked it. Put myself in my shoes. Like I have a lot of reflection moments, and I always
No, I
tell
think
her
that's so good.
because it's like I don't want to be a shitty person or a shitty dad.
Yep.
And it's just like, how would I like that being like a 5-year-old kid?
Well, they have such big emotions. I think it's like sometimes hard for us to like we think as an adult. So we're thinking and reflecting as an adult, but they've only had 5 years of their life. They don't know how to process that. And so I think we need to get back on their level. And it's like them freaking out in the store, and we're equally freaking out by getting explosive and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Obviously, like, hopefully you're not talking to your kid like that, but like, it's you're matching their energy. It's like, no, like, you need it. Like, what's going on?
Because that's one thing. It's like, oh, I had a burp. Sorry. Um, but basically, that's the one thing. It's like you were mentioning, like you don't want to like try and blow up. Everyone's done it. Like
Right.
you have no one's
Yes.
perfect. I'm not trying to say like, oh my god, no. Like it's
Yeah.
just I hope I'm doing things different than some guys. I'm trying to like reflect on these things, and because at the end of the day, it's like we want more kids, but there's like circumstances that happen in life where we can't. It's a higher risk to have another kid, basically.
Okay.
That's why when people go, "Oh, you're gonna have another one," it's like you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
We've been trying for the last like 2 years. It's not like fertility issues or anything. It's more so like health wise when the process happens.
Yep.
Because like I'll be honest, like we had miscarriages and stuff like that. And it's more on like the health side of things where I want her to still be around and I don't want to go through that shit again.
Yeah.
Because it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to have like at least 2, 3 kids. And it's just like, if he's the only one we have, it's like,
Right.
why would we want to break that relationship with him? And it's more like, I'm more focusing on him.
Yeah.
And it's just like, now we're at the point where we're like, okay, he's a single kid. I was never a single child, but I do know I don't want to be spoiled and think, oh, I get everything kind of deal, you know. But it's just crazy to me, like how like you look and view things when circumstances happen, and it's just like we're just trying to work on it because we do
Yeah.
grow up, and it's just like you're human.
Yeah. I do need to stop this
Yeah,
here in a second, but I do like just like one more comment, and then I have another comment on top of that. But I think like you said, everyone's gonna blow up. You you lose your temper, but that's the human side of you. So just like explaining, like like apologizing. Like I've never been apologized. Like my dad has never apologized to me
yeah.
ever, and he has a lot to apologize for, in my opinion. And so I think just kind of like making it more of like a human aspect. And that's not saying like, where am I going with this? Like, in my mind, you're making yourself human to your kid when you can say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, acknowledging this was wrong of me and this is how I deal with it, to show them, like, leading by example. Like, it's okay to sometimes lose your shit. We're
Yeah.
human.
Yeah. You can't avoid it.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm a lot like you, where like I'm constantly like thinking about things, and um so I don't know, like especially like before, like I was in a relationship, like all I had was time to like think of think and think and think and think. And so I was thinking about this because like I do personally like want kids, like if I can have them, like even if I can't have them, like I want to adopt, but I know that costs money, whatever. If I'm fortunate enough to have kids in the future, like I want them. But then like sometimes I look at people who have had like really good upbringings, healthy parents, etc. Not all the time, obviously.
Yeah.
But sometimes where like they can't handle things. The littlest thing, and then they have like the biggest like emotional like breakdown, or like that's like one example. Sorry, I have like a tickle.
If you hear my breathing, I'm sorry.
I know we're like over here
I gotta
like
breathe through my
hacking.
mouth right now.
Or like another example is where they had great parents, all of the opportunities in the world, because they had rich parents or whatever, and their parents would let them do anything, and then they're like not doing anything with their lives. So I think about this because I'm like, oh, I want to break generational curses and I want to love my kids so much. But then on the other aspect, I'm like, okay, like how much of like who I am as a person, like the things I've achieved in life and the way that I've been able to become is from my trauma, which I don't want to do that to my kids at all. But then like I heard like this one person talk about like maybe like I should just once every 20 times forget to pick my kid up.
Yeah.
Like intentionally forget. So they experience some form of trauma because it's like if you have money and can give them what they want, like I don't want to screw them up from that perspective. And so I think it's interesting because you don't know how they will be until you do it.
Yeah, because he was only grandchild for a bit, and then Brenna's stepbrother, he had a son a few months younger than Matias, my son, and he's a military kid. So
Okay.
his dad's in the military, so he's traveling, never really comes around.
Yep.
Then he had a second one, and then her sister just had our other nephew, Crew. Um, and basically, we were over at their house yesterday, and you can tell he's now realizing he's not the only one in the family, and
Mm.
he's taking it better now. Before, you could tell he was like,
Not okay.
no. And
It's like what the hell?
that's my thing is it's like that's why we're trying to move by where they're at. So they're up in Leo. So
Okay.
like I want to live there so he's around his cousins and get that treatment of siblings because
Yep.
eventually we would like to try again, but resources.
Yeah.
We want to do it this time where we're actually going to the doctor consistently just to avoid these things.
Right.
So it's gonna take money, and that's why I'm like, we need to like do this when we're like there, but we
Right.
also don't want a large gap. But at the same time, me and my brothers, it's like 6 years, 8 years, and one of them is
Yeah.
like what 15 or whatever it is, 14,
I think
and
eventually it will even out. I know, like when they're kids, when they're in the home, it might be more
yeah, because
challenging.
right now what we're trying to work with him is all your actions have consequences,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's like kind of like you said, the trauma thing is like I want to do that, but it's like at the same time it's like, man, I don't know. It's like I wouldn't have liked it. I would have rather been told something else or lost
Yeah.
something. He's very like big on possessive things like items and stuff like that.
Mm.
And if he knows something affects his like action figures or whatever, he's like, okay, I gotta listen. And it's more so on the like
Because that's relevant to him, his life. That's all his life.
yeah, so like one thing is we've been clearing out his toy box and we're like, you can't have like toddler baby toys anymore. You can't have all these. He has a bunch of plushies, and it's just like, dude, we don't have room for these. Like, you
Yeah.
gotta get rid of the ones you don't touch. The kids won't play with all of them.
Yeah.
So right now we're like clearing
But
out
until
stuff.
you want to get rid of it, that's when it's the
Yes,
big
and so
deal.
then I started telling. We went to like the Comets game, and it was like the teddy bear toss. And I said, buddy, we have to give these toys away. Like some of these plushies, like let's take them. We'll throw them in the ice because they're gently used. Some of them he'll get and then forgets about them like same day.
Yeah.
And he was throwing a fit. I said, buddy, like these kids don't have this.
Yeah.
So we explained where they were going, and he kind of was like, "Oh, okay, then they can have this." And we
To
had
teach him like
yes,
compassion and
and it's like these kids don't have these things. They'll get something like he has a bunch of Disney stuff because like he's gonna be a Disney kid
yeah.
basically. So he's like, "Oh, we'll give him Steamboat Willie and Minnie and a Mickey and stuff like that." We took a large bag and he did well, but then when he didn't see that like Mickey got to the ice, he freaked out at the rink. We're like,
Oh.
"Buddy, they'll throw it over," and then we saw it to get thrown over. And he's fine. But it's like candy is like another thing where I'm like, I don't want to like put trauma in you of any kind because it
I
sucks.
know.
It's like it's hard to do.
I
So
know.
if he falls and if I tell him like don't do that, it's something's gonna happen, and he falls and I'll like laugh at him and he hates it. But I'm like, people are like don't laugh at him. I'm like, he's gotta learn like
Yeah.
it's a dumb thing you did and you're gonna get made fun of. Like
Right.
I don't want to be like, oh buddy, like if he falls, we just like we're like get up, shake it
Yeah.
off, come on. It's so hard to do because
I
it's like,
I know. And like you have to like
oh,
really think about these things. So I like do I mean, not just because I'm in a relationship, I've always thought about like how I would like be a parent, but I also heard like someone say like my kid really wanted to like dye their hair like blue or like a strange color. And in our society right now, I know like it's more acceptable to like dye your hair crazy colors. But I think this was like a couple, like several years ago or whatever that I heard this concept. And they're like, hey man, I don't give a shit if you dye your hair blue, but just know you could go to school and people might make fun of you. So you might be bullied a little bit. So like preparing them for this. And then they're like, no, I still want to dye it blue. So then he goes to school, gets made fun of. He comes home. He's like, you were right. Let's dye it back. So I think just like preparing them like for like the world, like it's your oyster, man. You get to do what you want, but like again, your actions have
Yeah,
consequences, so
because his school, like schools now are so much better than when I first came. Because when I came to the States, I didn't know English. I was a guinea pig to the ESL classes. I
how old were you when you came?
5.
Okay.
So like starting like I got May of '98, started school that fall. Like I had like 2 months of like trying to learn English off of watching television
Oh
in
my
English.
gosh.
It sucked. But because of that, I had challenges my first few years. I didn't learn how to read and write English properly until I was in 3rd grade.
Oh
I had
wow.
to take separate classes, and then they started the ESL program. So then all the other kids had it easier,
Yep.
but I had to do separate stuff during like I had to miss a recess to like learn how to read and write. And by the end of the year, I was fine. I'm now like have a college degree, which to me that means a lot because it's like I went from a kid that didn't know how to read and write
Yeah.
until 3rd grade, whereas Brenna was always like a bookworm in the
Yeah.
sense of like she always knew how to read and write. Like she read Harry Potter in 3rd grade. I was like, bro, I was struggling with a little tree house, like
Like, I couldn't even
the
write.
magic tree house. I mean, but yeah, like I couldn't even write, and you're out here doing all these things, and that's why I'm like, I
Yeah.
think it's important like to keep reading. I'm like, that's one thing I was like, I wish I'd done that. So we're instilling that in him, and he loves books. I'm like, thank you. I'm like,
Yeah.
I was so stupid, and it was challenging. English was never my subject.
Are you teaching him Spanish too?
We're trying to teach him. I told Brenna we need to do full immersion at home because she wants to learn too. But at first, he didn't want to because he couldn't enunciate. But he now goes to a school that's a satellite school, magnet school, not satellite. It's a public school through Fort Wayne community.
Okay.
I don't want to say names,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
weirdos out in the world.
Yeah. I wouldn't.
But basically, they teach them Spanish.
Like half days.
No, like he has classes, but he's learning so much. I don't know if it gets more as the year goes, but he's in kindergarten, so
Okay.
I think it's different by like level, like
Yeah.
grade.
I know somewhere in Warsaw they do half the day Spanish, half the day
I
English.
met someone that went
Like
to that
full
school.
immersion. So like even if it's not like a language class, like they might be teaching math and
Yeah.
Spanish.
So he started going to the Spanish class and he's more interested in it, but he can't enunciate. He has like issues with R. R is a big thing in Spanish. So
I
it's
can't
like,
do it either.
so he has issues with it, but he tries. But now he's actually more willing to try. So I'm like doing more and more with that
Yeah.
because I know how to read and write in Spanish. It's like no big deal. And
I mean, it's easier to learn when you're young.
yeah, and that's
So,
why I'm like teaching him more stuff. And it's like, I told Brian, I was like, I really just wanted to like talk to him in Spanish, see what happens because it'll be good. And I even told like my sister-in-law, I'm like, well, Crew's our nephew, and if he's around him, I'm gonna do it. And honestly, your kid might learn Spanish from me too.
yeah.
And she's all about it. She's like, go for it. Because
Yeah.
if he knows, because I'm like, they're cousins. My kid looks Mexican. His cousin looks very blondish. Like they're not cousins. There's no way, but they are. And it's like, can you imagine like later on they're just speaking Spanish, but we're like, what the fuck is going on
First,
here?
I,
Like,
I think it's good. Like, how many people like know Spanish, or like can't even speak English? Like at the daycare, I had a boy. I think he came from China, and he was like 4 years old. He didn't know any English, and he was so scared. So it's like just knowing another language. I think in general just sets like people up more for success.
yeah, well, I mean, when I was doing sales, like Spanish people were my like bread and butter because those people I could communicate. It
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
a
like and
Google translated email.
even to get jobs later in life, like you
Oh
could be the
yeah.
translator.
So that like I'm just glad that his school does that for him because back to the emotion stuff, like in himself, like we had the opportunity to sign him up for an emotional group, which they teach kids how to deal with emotions, anger,
Oh.
frustration, stress. We have these charts, we put them on the fridge so he sees them, and it's like little actions, like, oh, if you're like this frustration, do this, like, and you'll
Oh,
see
the
him.
anxiety
Yeah,
thing?
the anxiety thing.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
4.
so he knows that,
Yeah.
and he's only 5, and I'm like, dude, I never had this growing
Could you
up.
imagine how successful we would be if we knew how to regulate at 5?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like he has all these
I had
like
to learn that at 25.
for real. It's like he had to like he's picking these things up so early. I'm like, this is great. Like
Yeah.
there's so many resources, and I'm like,
Mhm.
this is pretty good because it's like I want him to have the most success because
Yeah.
like being an immigrant like myself, like my dad did so much for us. I could never do what he did
Right.
because he struggled. He did so much like since he was like 18 years old.
You learned it through watching him do it.
Yes, and it's like And the thing people don't notice is like Hispanic kids and any kid honestly that's like from like Central South America or anyone that immigrated to the States, Chinese, whatever you want to be. I think a lot of it with like you always have to live up to what your parents did
Mm.
plus some,
Yeah.
and every generation needs to get better than that.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And that's why there's like a big thing in like the Hispanic Latino world where we have to be better than what our parents did, but we realize like they uprooted, left with like little money to a whole new place, figured it
Mm-hmm.
out, and sent some of us to college. My dad had an eighth grade education. I went to college, graduated. He was happy.
Right.
So it's like stuff like that. And to me, I still feel like I didn't do what he did for us because he did everything without knowing the language, without knowing who he was going to work for. He figured it
Yeah.
out. Like,
Yeah.
and he was young. He was like 17, 18 when he came here. So he literally like went through it all. And that's why it's like, I'm glad my kid has these resources. I want to make him do even better than what I did. Because
Right.
compared to what my family had in Mexico to I am now, it's like completely different.
So I'm I feel like I was really ignorant to like the process of even coming here. I've learned that a lot from Omar. Like he came here with just
Nothing.
a bag.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't have a bed. He was sleeping on the floor for a while. And so I think just like that hustle of figuring it out and like now he like just bought his like first home is like amazing. But I think so, you know, like with anyone having those experiences or like what, you know, what we went through maybe if like we wouldn't have parented the way maybe our parents parented. Like you have those experiences and while like I was kind of grappling like what I first proposed of do we teach them trauma a little bit? You know,
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever do that. But I think kids are smarter than we give them credit for.
Oh, yeah.
And just being open and honest about how things were and like explaining like this is why we don't do this. And I think they might like kind of absorb a little bit of that. Like, do I want to tell them everything that I went through? No.
Yeah.
But explaining some things I think will be very beneficial to them. Like, so explaining like what your dad had to go through and learning like it's good to be like a hustler. Like, you don't have to struggle in life because I got you, but having a good work ethic is important for a family, you know. And I think like we don't give a kids enough credit just like talking to them.
Yeah. Because he's like, I tell him, I'm like, he does things he's not supposed to, and it's frustrating.
Right.
I have a lot of patience. Brenna has way less patience than I do. But that's where the whole balance happens. I stop her and I tell her, like, I'll call her out on it and be like, yo,
Yeah.
what the fuck? But at the same time, she does that to me too
Right.
but she knows that I hold things in a quite long time sometimes.
Mm.
But that's because I'm so patient. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. There's always a breaking point.
Yeah. And so, like, we literally, like, when he goes to bed or whatever, we talk about it. I'm like, hey, I didn't like that you did this. Or she'll be like, you did this. And we just try to communicate so we're on the same page with him because it's like,
Like not in front of him, you mean like after
yeah,
he
because
goes
I
to
don't want him,
bed?
because if, like, because if we're talking loud because there's a lot going on or whatever, he thinks we're in an argument. He comes and says, no, stop. And I'm like, we're not fighting, buddy. We're just talking loud because, like,
Yeah.
she's across the house or doing
Yeah.
this and
Brenna!
stuff like that. And because I think he has seen us, like, have an argument here and there. You know, everyone has their arguments. And it's just
Yeah.
like, he didn't like it. He's an emotional kid. I
Yeah.
was an emotional kid, but I never knew how to express it.
Yeah.
And, like, growing up in a Mexican, like,
I love that he's trying to stop you guys though.
yeah, like, in a Mexican culture, it's all about, like, you're a man. You don't
Mm-hmm.
show weakness. You need to do this. You need to, like, hang it all out, show that you're tough, blah, 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 blah. It's a bunch of BS, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I've learned that, like, because of me never showing my emotion, I had issues where I could communicate with people. That's one thing with Brenna. She's like, well, you need to tell me when you feel like this because I don't tell her about how I feel about stuff sometimes. And now we're
Yeah.
getting better about it. Now we do it when he's in bed so we can talk about it
Yep.
just in case it gets, like, not saying that we get, like, in full blown arguments. Like, oh, like, it's more so like,
Passionate.
yeah, we want to talk about things. And also, he's to the point now where he's picking up and he asks, what's this? What's that? What's this? And we don't want to be explaining, like,
Yeah.
things we do. So And
You want to be able to control the narrative to a 5-year-old,
yes,
not to your adult wife.
yes, and
The way you're explaining it in both
yeah,
situations.
and so basically, like we've been working on that, and it's just like one thing I want him to be emotional. I want him to show emotion. When he gets frustrated, he hits himself in the head. I'm like, dude, why?
Oh,
I said, stop. Like I tell him, don't do that. Why do you
yeah,
do that? And I said, do your finger stuff. Like do all your exercise. He does it. He's gotten better at it. But it's just like if he does something wrong, he's starting to learn there's consequences.
yeah.
We'll be like, hey, why did you do that? And he's like, oh, don't get mad at me. And like he gets
Oh,
freaked out.
yeah.
And that's one thing we're trying to work on and be like, buddy, like it's fine. Show your
It's
emotion.
okay.
But we want you to explain, like, because I think he thinks he's not smart, but he's smart.
So he's like putting pressure on
He's
himself
putting
already
pressure
at
on
5.
himself where he's like he gets like frustrated. I'm like, buddy, you're fine. I tell him, I'm like, you're a smart kid.
Yeah.
I was like, I always walk him through. I was like, why did you do that? What did you do? And he'll tell me, why did you do it? I don't know. I just wanted to do it. Okay. But was that a good
He's like
thing?
the intrusive thoughts one.
Basically,
Yeah.
it's like, well, what happened now? So we have like Toy Aussie and she's bit him. So he doesn't understand like you can't be like trying to not bite him, like snip at him because like she's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And he needs we're teaching him personal space and all that.
Yep.
And that's one thing that's like, okay, buddy, why did she nip at you? Well, I was like choke holding her or some stuff. Okay.
Practicing wrestling.
But she likes that and then she gets annoyed. It's
Yeah.
weird. It's kind of like a double-edged sword kind of thing
Yeah.
where there's a consequence with it. I said, okay, but she growled, right? He goes, yeah, okay. And
Like that was your
what
warning.
have we told you to stop? Why didn't you do it? And he doesn't know. He's like, I just wanted to. I said, okay,
Yeah.
buddy, you're smart enough.
Right. Self-control.
You know what you had to do. Why did you do it? And then he goes, I don't know. Will you do it next time? He goes, yes. So you try to walk him through
Yep.
where, hey, you are smart. You're not dumb.
Right.
I always think of like the help.
Okay.
You is smart.
Oh,
You
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
beautiful.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's like what I always think about. I'm like, dude, this is literally the thing because you're trying not to make a kid be like,
What are those called? People call them something. Affirmations.
yes,
Like
basic, yeah.
self-affirmations. Like
So
look, you're supposed to like look in the mirror every morning and tell you yourself like what you need to work on.
yes, and that's what we try to tell them because it's like, kid, I don't
Because if
want
you
you.
say it enough, you believe it.
Yes, but the thing is, it's like I think every kid is smart. I think no kid is dumb. I think every kid works at its own pace and rate. It's more so you as a parent, you have to be there to support them.
Yeah.
And if you're not, where does your kid lead? I know some people can't do schooling, but it's like you always have to look at like there's always help.
Well, it just goes back to like literally like what you were saying. Like everyone's different. Like
Yeah.
even as an adult, like I think I maybe talked about this on the podcast, so I won't go too in depth. But one of my parents, they were saying so like my sister's a teacher. I'm in the corporate world. So obviously salaries will be different just from that point of view because teachers don't make shit. Okay. And so one of my parents, they said, well, Jess was always smarter than you. So if she went into the corporate world, she would be making way more money than you. And first of all, I think it's partially just like lack of like knowing me personally. Like they don't really know who I am versus who she is.
Mhm.
Not saying there's anything wrong with my sister, but we are just different. We have different mindsets. Whereas like I go a little bit more after what I want. I'm a little bit of a hustler, whereas like she wouldn't potentially ask for a raise. Maybe. It's teacher land is just different. It's totally different. I don't know how she would technically be, but we're so different. So she's more book smart and I'm fine with admitting that. I had to work hard at school because I just don't learn that way. But that doesn't mean I'm dumb. I'm just better at other things. And so it really hurt my feelings that he said that. And I was just like, you don't like, partially because it's like, you don't know me at all. But it's just like going back to the kids or even humans. It's like we all learn different and we all possess different attributes. It's just like, have you tapped into what you're good at? Have you discovered what you're good at and excelled in that way? Like, I'm more hands on, I'm applied. School didn't work for me because I can't read a book and apply it to my life because these scenarios in the book don't mean shit to me. But if you tell me I'm going to make money if I learn this thing, I'm going to learn everything about it, you know? So I just think it's like humans are just so different and we're just so complicated in different ways. But we also do have different brains. I do think some people, like like
Yeah,
doctors and science, I can't perform brain surgery.
but it all falls down to like you said, like what can you apply yourself to, and that's one thing because it's like I like every other parent. I'm sure I would love my kid if my kid was like, oh, he's a doctor, he's this, and it'd be great. But if the dude's like, oh, I just want to teach like kids, like I want to be a teacher, cool, buddy,
Yeah.
you do you. Won't I won't judge him.
Right.
Only time I would say something is like he wants to be a drug dealer or some crazy shit. But if he's like, yo, I'm opening a dispensary because I could make a lot of money,
Well, it's like, buddy,
good
there's
for you.
pharmaceutical drugs. You could make a
Yeah.
lot of money being a pharmaceutical drugs or be a pharmacist. Like,
Yeah, it's stuff like that. And it's like, I'm here to support him in what he wants to do because the one thing is like I've worked with blue collar, I've worked in corporate. Like I have
yeah.
respect for everyone. I don't judge people by what they do.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
you never know when life's gonna hit you and you're back down with them.
Yeah.
And it's like you just have to be like a nice person in general. And it's like, and if you're not a nice person, it's like then what are you doing that makes you better than everyone else? There's nothing. Like
Yeah.
kind of like the whole like treat the janitor the same way you would treat the president of a company. And it's like, yeah, dude,
Yes.
like right now with like my situation, I'm working at a warehouse. I'm working with people that like live in a trailer park.
Mm-hmm.
They're cool.
Yeah.
I don't care, bro. Like you're a good person. You're just in a different situation in life compared to where I was at.
Okay.